Hello, this is Andrew here from Shredder Gaming. I wanted to put out that I've been working on a little project that I call GuideVault. What this is specifically for storing manuals, strategy guides, and magazines. If you've ever used anything like Kavita Reader, it's just like that, but specifically for video game content. So if you've ever been through the process of tagging or messing with the metadata of any of these topics, that it's not very good. There's a lot of inconsistencies and uh, it, data fallacies, lack of sources to parse to get standardized information. So it's a very jungle type landscape. So I was hoping to bring maybe just a little bit of clarity to that and challenge getting uh, getting that process more standardized. So with that said, um, I'll just give a high level overview here of what this can do so far. This is still pretty early yet, but and I'm still adding things, and so by the time I release this, this could look completely different. Um, but with that said, so first we've got the under the all content, we've got a recently added section, so you can see newly added content to the library. Underneath that, there's a browse by content type where you can choose manuals, strategy guides, or magazines. And then below that, you can see everything that's been added for every library. You can see a more targeted view uh, by selecting manuals. So you can see all the different kinds of manuals, and that's done per platform. Again, with strategy guides, that's done per platform. If you do not have well tagged um, metadata, it'll go to this. The default is this unsorted strategy guide or unsorted manual or unsorted magazines. Um, and then that's just the default tag that it gives it. And then you can go through and sort that metadata from there. I hope to provide an easier method for for sorting these out by the time this is released. Um, so then again with the magazine section, there's a categories view here where you can view. This is basically the same view as before, but you get a look at it in a vertical list. I might there's a strong possibility that I'll end up changing this or adding additional options so you can look at the data or you can look at a platform or uh, recently added guides or something. I'll come up with something that doesn't limit to just looking at it by platform, but drilling into it a little further. So we've got 3DO here, and all of these are CBZs. So this will store CBZs, CBRs, and PDFs. Um, with CBZs and CBRs, you'll get a preview here, and then the title, and an icon with the little platform, the platform name, and then the release year if the data is populated. Um, then it'll indicate that it's a manual and the type of file it is. So I can drill into that, and I'll get a details panel here where it'll show the name of the game, a summary, the ESRB rating. It'll indicate that it's a instruction manual for the 3DO. Um, Manual title again um, with the game name, uh, the system name. It'll store things like region, the language, if you have a multi-language or a different locale. The franchise series. This is handy for things like like if you have this the Silent Hill franchise or the Resident Evil franchise. The year the game was released, The genre, you can include different sections. So if you like to get really detailed and uh, list, all the headings in a in a manual, you can do that. Um, the different characters that a manual would list, warranty support info. Um, you can indicate whether it's there's a controller that's used, or if it's a special controller, or all the different types of controllers that are used. So I wanted to cover the full spread of um, what you would possibly want surrounding the data item. So with that said, I'll open the reader. Now this is a windowed mode, so you can click on the left side or the right side, and um, it'll advance the pages. Now I just have this in a two-page mode, but there's a two-page adaptive mode where um, if you have one of the manuals that are, yeah, like this, where it's two images put together, but two pages are on one image. You can use two-page adaptive mode, and that'll change that to one page. I also included like a page stack graphic here, where as you advance the pages, it'll take away from this side and add to this side, just like you were flipping through the book. Um, Also, I've added different transitions here. So if you don't like just the switch over, um, you can do like a fade, or there's a slide effect, or there's actual page turn effect. So it'll look like an actual book. If you don't like the black background, I've included different backgrounds, and I tried to capture how you would normally look at a book or a strategy guide or a magazine, like areas that you would typically um, be viewing those things. Some of them are novel too, so I've added like an adventure map, so you can look at it with an adventure background if you're playing like Legend of Zelda or something. Um, Now, more than once, I've been known to read a strategy guide while on the toilet. So I included. I thought it'd be funny to include a bathroom background, um, a gamer bedroom background, a library desk. Living room's probably my favorite, just because it's the most indicative of looking at a manual while you're playing a game. So so there's that. You can also adjust the Um, I'll go back there for just 1 second. You can adjust the brightness of a background as well. And you can adjust the binding shading, so the spine in the middle, and then the outer edge shading. So if you don't want those to be as dark, you can do page jumps. You can zoom in, and also I've included a magnifying glass effect. So if you click and hold, it'll you can do like a magnifying effect. That's handy for like strategy guides that have like small text. You can also full screen it and you know mess around with that. You can also change the size of this too if you want it to be uh, bigger or smaller. Uh, you can bookmark. I don't have that quite working yet. You can set the bookmark, but it doesn't really do actually anything right now. Um, So there's manuals. Strategy guides gets a little bit more elaborate. I'm a little bit more farther along just because it required a bit more attention. Um, so with strategy guides, sometimes you'll have strategy guides that have multiple games in them. Mortal Kombat 2 is probably a good example. So in this strategy guide, you have Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, Game Gear, and Game Boy all for the same strategy guide. So my solution for that was to um, have a preferred platform and an associated platforms. So let's say you just want Mortal Kombat 2 strategy guide for Super Nintendo. You can put Super Nintendo in the preferred platform and be done with it. But if you wanted it to be for these other systems also, instead of using preferred platform, you can fill in the associated platforms, and this becomes a read-only field, and then fill in all the other platforms. And what that will do is this same guide will also show in those other platforms, and you'll get a little icon here on the bottom of all the platforms that the guide is associated with, and then a multi-platform indicator instead of the actual system name, say, letting you know that it's used in multiple places. So that was pretty handy. Um, Otherwise, for strategy guides, I'll go back into the metadata section here. You can indicate, the ISBN number. You can set the rating. I think Donkey Kong Country 3 is T for teen. So if I give it a T rating, then that'll change the ESRB over here to T for teen. If you have the ISBN number, you can include that here. Series, so the Donkey Kong Country series, and the franchise, you can list the franchise name, guide type, edition, if there's like a signature edition or collector's edition, can indicate that here. The author of the strategy guide, if there's multiple authors, you can just comma separate them and it'll list all of them. The game publisher, developer of the game, the release year. Um, if you want to include, sections like maps, bestiaries, special weapons, um, special features, locations. Locations is kind of handy for things like Link to the Past. If there's certain, if you want to list all the different areas that a strategy guide covers. Here you can set the reading profile. You can set it per system and then per entry also. The system takes precedence over the that on a specific guide, the entry takes precedence over the system. So you can set a global profile, a system profile, and then a specific item profile. You can include your own notes. Let's see. Magazines is more or less the same as the previous two. Magazines are more like strategy guides in the context of the information that gets saved. There's some slight differences, like issue number, volume number. Sometimes that matters with different magazines. Sometimes they go by issue, sometimes they go by volume and issue. Uh, let's see, the cover date, publication dates, the main game that's covered, and then down here, most of this information I find actually more important than the the top information. So if you're in something like Nintendo Power, so I've got all this information here, like there was a comic for Howard and Lester, so um, so I would put that under special features. And featured games, I would put, I would put featured games here. So if you have this kind of information available to you, um, you can populate these fields with that information and then save it, and then these start appearing as tags, um, which will be handy later because I think I want to do some sort of a export to JSON or have like a proprietary file format for GameVault, where this information becomes standardized and then embedded in a CVZ, so that way it's more easily readable specifically for a magazine. Um, so I think that covers that. As far as settings goes, not a whole lot going on here. Uh, I've got a real basic login page now. Preferences, I included a colorscape option, which is pretty cool. So you can, if you have colorscape, it'll take the dominant color of the cover and change with that. So I'll just cycle through a few of them here. So yeah, I thought that was pretty neat. Reading profiles, this is the main area for setting reading profiles. So here we've got a default, but you can go through the settings and set your own personal profiles for each type of the way you want to look at a manual or a magazine. OPDS, I just got this working today on a scripted request. I haven't tested it yet in a real world situation with a mobile device or a tablet. So this is something I'm still kind of working on. It mostly works, but still working on that. Devices, you can see what devices have recently connected to the instance, and um, for tracking for data. Activity, not much going on here. Just an overview of how many items you have in each library. I plan on expanding this out before I release it. Devices, again, more information and insights on what what devices have connected, what the devices are doing while they're looking at the library. So this will cover things like desktop, tablet, uh, mobile devices. Metadata manager. This is where a little bit of the magic happens with the standardization with the metadata. So things like the language. So I prefer to have them all say English and US because I think I can just safely assume that they're English and US. So what I can do is put English, and I think I'm just going to limit this to like manuals. So I don't have anything here, and I think I want US also. So I'm going to apply to selected, and then that should populate all these fields with English and US language. There's a lot, so I think it takes a while. Yeah, there it goes. So yeah, there's all of those populated, and you can go through and just easily kind of correct the metadata here. After that, I've personally just been just a test, going through and you know seeing if there's anything that looks out of place. So series and publication. I know this is a NES system, so I could probably put this under NES. It's not really a series, but for example, I could. Um, this would be more applicable to like strategy guides. Yeah, so I've gone through and done quite a few. So for 007, I'll just have 007 as a series. Um, the Armored Core series, the Assassin's Creed series, things like that. And later you can do like collections and stuff like that with it. So um, uh, let's see, imports, info. Info is just about the system. What version it's currently on, what version's installed, when you first installed it. I'll have links to probably a website that I'll put up about this. Um, Change log of everything that's been done since I started this. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to share this out. I hope this helps out a lot of people and their journey with managing this jungle of uh, magazine and manual information. So um, let me know in the comments or on the forums if you would find this useful, and I look forward to hearing any feedback. And thanks for watching. Bye.